The Japanese Yakuza gang is one of the most dangerous mafia groups on the planet. They literally compete with the strongest gangs in the world in terms of numbers and firepower. The gang has more than 150,000 members. Imagine a crime organization structured like families. The gang members are involved in every crime you can think of. I'm sure you'll be shocked by what you hear, so I won't spoil the story. Just stay tuned to the video and enjoy watching. Hi, welcome to my channel and your homeland. Oh, and before we start the video, don't forget to subscribe. The name Yakuza comes from a popular card game. They have a thing called Hanfuda. When you collect cards numbered 8, 9, and 3, it triggers what's called the Yakuza, a really bad combo in this game, and it means you're definitely going to lose. Originally, these guys were poor and oppressed, kicked out of the cities they lived in. They worked the lowest jobs and had no hope in society. But they turned into one of the richest and most powerful gangs in the world. Now they've spread out, gaining strength and numbers in places like America and Russia. So what happened to make them change so drastically? The turning point was during the 16th and 17th centuries in Japan, involving a group called the Burakumin. This group was outcast and shunned by society. The Japanese society had a problem because they got involved in gang activities like hiring people to kill others, which made their suffering worse and increased the hatred towards them. Japanese people weren't even allowed to get close to them. In the 17th century, the Japanese authorities decided to forcefully relocate them to distant cities. After being displaced, they were left to live in terrible poverty, and their struggle continued like that until the mid-20th century. Then a new generation came along and decided to assert themselves in society. They chose to become a gang involved in theft, murder, kidnapping, arms smuggling, and all kinds of illegal stuff you can imagine. Around that time, a group called Kabuki Mono also joined them. They were similar to the Burakumin. They used to spend their time killing and being violent towards people always involved in criminal activities. It's said that later on about 500,000 samurai warriors joined them because back then it was a time of peace and these warriors were forced into unemployment. So they turned into bandits in the small towns we talked about, the same ones the Yakuza moved into. The gang kept growing stronger and stayed active in the scene for 400 years. These guys were kind of like Robin Hood. They stole money from the rich and gave it to the poor. The way they built their wealth was basically through stealing. They would steal stuff and sell it all over Japan to make money. The next step was to use that money to open gambling shops. And honestly, they really liked the idea and grew the business bigger and bigger. They started adding more shady and illegal activities to their operations, and they never said no to any opportunity that came their way. After all the work they did and how much they expanded, they became part of a well-known group in Japan. But people still looked down on them. They were basically outcasts. Then, after they made a huge amount of money from all those shady deals we talked about, they decided to turn the tables and fight fire with fire. They made up their minds to create their own tight-knit community, like a family, because the gang basically becomes the new family for its members. Since the gang includes both men and women, anyone who joins has to leave their original family behind and fully commit to the Yakuza as their only family. The men and women in the gang often marry each other, making the Yakuza a real family unit. These guys are sharp and calm. To show loyalty to the family, the first thing a person has to do is get tattoos all over their body. This is what sets them apart from everyone else. But the tattoos have to be hidden from the public eye. When the gang is out on the streets, they're usually decked out and look serious, making a strong impression with their style and attitude. They look sharp, riding in the nicest cars, and these tattoos only show up at private meetings because when they gather, about 3/4 of them are shirtless to show they're part of the Yakuza gang and to make sure there are no spies among them. And they say the more skilled you get at your job, the more tattoos you earn. That's why most of the gang members are covered in tattoos, each with its own meaning and symbolism, like strength and patience. Of course, these tattoos are impossible to remove. Here's a fact. What sets them apart from others is the little finger on the left hand. Many of them have it cut off, though not all. The reason is that anyone who messes up gets punished by having that finger cut. He breaks his finger and goes straight to his boss like a pro. A lot of them have missing fingers, and they say the reason for this is to weaken the warrior's ability to hold a samurai sword. When they jump on their fingers, they're forced to ask for help from other family members during a fight. The Yakuza gang is made up of several families, which together form the Yakuza's power. They have a large number of members, but there are 4 families that control the gang's strength and weakness. The first is the Yamaguchi-gumi family, which you could say was founded back in 1915. This family alone represents 50% of the gang's power and has more than. The 40 members you see in these shots are from a traditional Russian dinner with the sixth-generation gang leader, Shinobu Tsukasa. CIA reports say this guy is one of the 100 most dangerous men on the planet. He's the head of businesses in porn, gambling, drugs, blackmail, human trafficking, arms smuggling, extorting politicians and businessmen, murder, oppression, and threats. The guy's a total wrecking machine, there's nothing he hasn't done. He was first jailed for killing his rival with a samurai sword during a challenge. After getting out, he kept expanding his power with brutal tactics. Since then, the Rengo family has dominated over all the other families. There's a group with a certain number of people, each with their own specialties. The family after them is the K family, which controls all the branches of the Sabaeans outside Japan, handling all kinds of operations. Then there's another family that specializes in killing and assassinations. These families pick ruthless people to join them, and those people follow orders no matter what. The guy running this whole thing is their godfather, named Oyaban. He's the big boss. Right under him is the advisor, Psycho-Kamen, whose job is to appoint lawyers and accountants. Below the advisor is Woka Jashira. His job was to carry out orders from the big boss, Oyaban, and under him was Shadi Jashira, whose job was to control the members and family leaders. After that, each family would split into smaller families. The strange thing is, each family had its own territory, boundaries, and specific role within the gang. This hierarchy kept going down to the smaller gangs, which they called the kids. Because of the Yakuza's organized system, the number of gang members became greater than the number of police officers in Japan. Because of this, the police were living in constant fear. Once the gang got involved in these illegal activities, they felt they needed to expand their operations even more. They decided to get into the industrial sector mainly to cover up their illegal and unethical activities. Statistics show that the Yakuza's annual income is over $84 billion. What made the gang this rich is their illegal and unethical businesses, to the point that their operations became really easy both inside Japan and abroad. They expanded throughout East Asia, Europe, and America. By the way, the gang even had activities in Istanbul, Turkey. In 1980, they carried out an assassination of one of the top bank managers in Japan, and all suspicion was pointed at them. About the Yakuza, they also had clients who bought shares for them in big companies. They used part of the gang, men and women, whose job was to gather information about politicians and company heads. The goal was to blackmail them to increase their profits. Everyone was scared of them and kept them in check. That's how they spread everywhere, and no one could face them or defeat them. Despite all the shady stuff the gang did, they still tried to gain the community's favor. Even though they were outcasts among the Japanese, they were always featured in movies, TV shows, and the media. In fact, many films about the Yakuza's life were made last year. But, of course, they were always shown in movies as peaceful, making us believe they supported the weak and fought enemies, acting like they were the cute, harmless ones who wouldn't hurt anyone. And anyone who tried to reveal the truth about them got wiped out without mercy. There was this guy named Joe Zatami, one of Japan's most famous filmmakers. In 1982, he made a movie mocking the Yakuza, showing scenes where the gang was ridiculed and their status belittled. Right after, the director didn't kill himself. The one who killed him was a Yakuza member named Tadamasa, who was responsible for the murder. What happened between them was that this guy, along with a few other guys from the gang working under him, forced the director to go up to the 8th floor and make it look like the crime was a suicide. After he died, they put his wife under police protection so the gang wouldn't bother her. Joining the Yakuza isn't easy at all because there are certain stages a person has to go through before joining, and not just anyone is suitable. They even consider it a huge honor only given to people with specific traits, most importantly, strength, because every member of the Yakuza has to be strong and not afraid of anyone outside the gang. At the same time, being strong doesn't mean the other gang members are weak. Their roles are usually different from just fighting and killing because some people handle tasks that need more brains than muscles, like technical stuff and the like. For these folks, excessive strength isn't a must, but they do need to learn some basic fighting skills to defend themselves. One thing he pays attention to before picking gang members is that they don't have any weak spots, because weaknesses keep them from doing their job properly. Since they're always at risk of losing someone from their family, it's better that way. If you ever think about joining the gang, make sure you don't have any weak spots they can use to control you. This gang isn't like your regular gangs at all. It's a huge organization that keeps going by strict rules. Anyone who breaks the rules is likely to end up in jail or even killed. One of their main rules is not to mess with regular civilians because their problem is with the government and some institutions. Civilians are seen as peaceful people who aren't involved. But if someone hurts them, the gang won't just stand by, they'll make sure that person pays, and it's usually a deadly outcome. So that it serves as a lesson to others and nobody ever messes with them. The thing that made them most famous was their silence. That's one of the gang's most important rules. The gang members became etched in the public's memory because they followed strict rules and were committed to a code of honor to the highest degree possible. But honestly, I don't know where the honor is. And add to that coincidence, people have long thought that the big Russian guys in this gang were registered criminals in their country. But over time, they found out that some of the leaders of Yakuza were also holding high-ranking positions in Japan. For example, there was a guy who worked as a bank official in Japan and, at the same time, was involved with the gang, helping them out. They were involved in money laundering, and there were even police officers and high-ranking officials who belonged to the gang. That explains why the gang hasn't been taken down and is still active. But all that doesn't mean gang members are just stealing, killing, and roaming the streets without the government stepping in. What it means is that the state hasn't been able to weaken their power or get rid of them. Back in 2011, the administration of former US President Obama announced they were seizing all Yakuza assets and arrested over 26,000 members worldwide because of their operations. Still, it seems like that move didn't really make a dent. Originally, they regrouped and came back way stronger than before. So, who are these people covered head to toe in tattoos, ready to risk their lives if their bosses order them to? But one time, they fell into a trap set by the government. Back then, the authorities decided to ban weapons and put strict laws in place about them. This hit the Yakuza gang hard. The one behind this decision was the mayor of Nagasaki. One day, as this guy was heading to his office, one of the gang members was waiting for him hidden and ready. When he got close, he opened fire on him. He fired 2 shots and tried to run, but the mayor's wife and the assistants with her caught him. When the police arrived, he confessed that he was trying to kill him. After that incident, the government kept enforcing strict laws on weapons and gangs of all kinds, especially the Yakuza gang. Their numbers reached 34,000 members, which means the state managed to keep them in check. But somehow, the crazies regained their power like before and figured out how to take control again. Seriously, they're crazy in every sense of the word. By the way, the Yakuza is the most profitable mafia organization in the world, second only to the cartel gangs. I can talk about it in another video, and that's how we'll wrap up our story. See you in the next video. Bye.